Greetings, and welcome to Sunday night. And for those of us, particularly in North America, and because of the internet, it kind of spreads around the world, this is what is called Father's Day. And it was a day in which we are supposed to honor and celebrate those men who are our fathers or father-like figures or people who've kind of helped us as children to flourish because we were fathered nicely, fathered well, and we're grateful for that. It's a good thought. However, I had to remind the pastor at our church today that for a number of people, Father's Day is not necessarily a pleasant day or even a celebration. In fact, if we understand the human condition, it can be quite an unpleasant day. And you know, as Christians, as entrepreneurs, as men and women of faith and people who reach out to others, we need to know some of the reasons for that. And that's what I'd like to talk about a little bit tonight, and then moving that into the marketplace on Monday. Why don't you join me? This is the Jesus Entrepreneur, and we're going to do it right now.
Come and listen into a radio station where the mighty host of heaven sing. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. If you want to hear the songs of Zion coming from the land of endless spring, get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on.
And once again, we do thank you for taking time. TCENglobal.org is what I'd like you to go visit. You're going to find out a lot about who we are. Again, my name is Stan Houston. I am the co-founder of the Christian Entrepreneur Network, and we are going and growing, and we're seeking not only to help men and women who are Christians and entrepreneurs to perhaps share that faith, that life experience, but to do so because we can help you have a powerful Christian entrepreneur performance experience where you are learning how to be better and more powerful and stronger and more effective in the work and the business you do of carrying on as an entrepreneur. And we have just written a book that'll help you get started. It's called Fully Alive, the prayer and the 7 principles, the 7 practices, the 7 power principles and practices, and I'm obviously elaborating on the title, for you to be an effective Christian entrepreneur. Years ago, almost 30 years ago, there was a 330-page book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Well, I'm not so sure you can get by with writing a book that long anymore. Ours is only 30 pages, and it's meant to introduce you to the things that will help you do to kind of tweak and perhaps thread the needle to get more focused thinking on the things that will help you perform at your best as a Christian entrepreneur. So why don't you write to me at Radio Edge 77. Rather than making it Stan Houston, I'll make it real easy. RadioEdge77 at gmail.com. RadioEdge77 at gmail.com. And we'll be happy to send a free copy or a link to the Kindle book so that you can experience that. And by the way, you don't just read our books. Because they have video and other internet elements, because this is the modern era, it will be an experience. And by the way, this year you should probably write a book. This year you should probably teach a course. This year you should perhaps have at least something where your business has a strong video presence, either a YouTube channel, a spokesperson presentation, perhaps a class to inform and connect people with the wisdom that you have. There are things you'll need to do differently the rest of the year if you want to have a successful year in what we call the Internet Connected Experience Economy. And we believe that not only can we bring you some spiritual, emotional, professional, relational wisdom for yourself and your business, but we can also help you figure out how to make business work better in the Internet, digital, connected experience economy. So stay in tune with us at tcenglobal.org. You can find the other programs that we've done before and continue. We're going to be doing our radio programs, usually 4, sometimes 5 times a week. We come to you when we believe we have something that might be helpful and useful, maybe just entertaining, something to say. Well, today, as I pointed out, we're just kind of sitting back because I've got a number of challenges before me. I really do. And that's why I've always gotten in the habit of saying, on Sunday night, I need to pray, I need to think, and I need to plan. And so that I will rest well with a prayer of gratefulness, but of anticipation on my heart, mind, and spirit, so that when Monday morning comes, I'm ready to meet the marketplace. And having the Spirit of God work in our hearts and minds on Sunday night's a good way to do that. Just a brief thought. Today was Father's Day. I was a little bit lonesome. I was a little bit sad. Both of my daughters are a long ways away, and I didn't get to see them, and I don't get to see them quite that often. And for a variety of reasons that has happened right now. And so it's a little bit of a bittersweet time. Thank goodness I got a nice text and a nice picture and some greetings. But it was a little bit lonely. And I kind of envied those men who have their family right there to celebrate, their sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters, and just good family coming together. That didn't happen. So a little bit wistful. But it also is that the fact that I know that we have to be very careful about such days. And as I went and told the pastor, and what had happened is, obviously, he's a wonderful man, and he went on about how wonderful his children were and how glad he was for them. Of course, that's great. And then he went on about his father and how wonderful his father was and how fortunate he was to have that father, and that it was just a wonderful tribute. But I had to remind him that that's not everybody's experience. I know that even within our church, there are some men who hurt today because for some reason, who knows what and why, and it doesn't matter to get into blame, but at least 3 of them, they don't know where all their children are. Some of them just simply have gone away and they refuse to have anything to do with their father anymore. And of course that makes them sad, and it may even make their children sad. And I also know that some of the people are somewhat alienated from their father, and of course that makes them sad. I also know of some people who had very poor father experiences, abusive father, bad father experiences. And that makes them sad too. So as I pointed out as I wrote the prayers, for many we celebrate the goodness of good fathers, but on the other hand there are millions of people who don't celebrate, whose experience was quite different. And I thought about my own father and perhaps some of the things that went into his experience and then maybe was passed on to me. Just briefly, my father was born in May of 1920. And it was not a very happy day when he was born because his father had been killed in a hunting accident 7 months before in October 1919. A tragic accident. He and his cousin were farmers and sportsmen and hunters, and they were out duck hunting in the northern part of Minnesota, and they saw the ducks fly up. There was a slip. The gun went off prematurely, and my grandfather was killed instantly by his cousin. And so when my father was born, some 7 months later, literally, he has no memories of his father. His mother didn't remarry until much later in life, and so he literally had no father, ever. Never had anyone like that. And obviously that must have affected him. His mother lived longer, but I also discovered that his mother died when he was just a young man. He was 28 and was just beginning his career and his work. And so he was born, grew up in a very strange situation, raised in some cases because his mother, the only job she could get was as a matron at an orphanage, so he was kind of raised as a half orphan, and with a mother who was there occasionally, but not all the time. How that affected his life? Obviously, it probably affected it profoundly. He and his brother struggled with that for many years. So I always now think that I know that whenever we celebrated Father's Day, I now am aware of what deep pain that must have brought my father. And now as I'm older, I begin to see that and begin to realize that that must have been a very difficult thing for him to go through, to celebrate Father's Day. And I obviously see that perhaps that affected his fathering of me, and obviously that may affect some of the things that I probably should have done differently as a father myself. Now, those are not meant to be mundane or terrible or blaming thoughts. It's just simply a reflection that I asked all of us to be aware of, that even when we have great celebrations, like Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, or whatever that might be, that even those celebrations are meant to be happy times. They're not always the case. The Memorial Day celebration is always quite difficult. For a cousin of mine, because she was in that same situation, her father was killed just right after she was born in the Second World War. And she has no real memory of him, only a picture of him holding her as a small baby girl. And every Memorial Day was always a bittersweet holiday because she never had a father. That's why we need to be very, very careful about how we do those kinds of things. You see, our experience of whatever we're celebrating could be profoundly different from other people's experience. And what I'm discovering more and more is that the thing that makes for good entrepreneurs, obviously the 7 things. They know how to serve. They are spirit-led. They are creators. They are risk-takers. They are fixers. They are there to help people flourish, and they are teachers. Those 7 things that every good entrepreneur and Christian entrepreneur needs to seek to be. But they also have to gain a 6th sense of the human condition and how people might respond quite differently. I'm just asking you to think about that as you go into the marketplace, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are a man or a woman who simply does their work for the corporation they work for, that the experience of some men and women are usually profoundly different. And what we need to do is to be more aware of other people's feelings and sensitivities and differences, and always be aware that, as one person said, our experience was not theirs, and their experience is not ours. And it is the wise man or woman who understands. They understand that. And they pray about that. And they seek God's Spirit-led wisdom in helping people deal with all the things that go on in the human condition. Just a thought for Sunday night as you're getting ready for the marketplace. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us. I'm Stan Houston, tcenglobal.org, radioedge77@gmail.com. We want to have you on this radio program. We want to hear from you. We want questions from you. We want you to participate. We're growing slowly but thoroughly, one at a time, one listener at a time, as I say. That's the way all businesses go and grow, whether they are internet-based or not. It's always you please one person at a time. And hopefully we're beginning to do that for you. So please stay in tune, stay in touch, and we'll look forward to you joining us through this coming crucial week in the marketplace. Again, all the best and blessings to you. We'll see you again. Bye for now.